The misconception of forgiveness, the role that forgiveness may or may not play in healing from your trauma. In pop culture, in contemporary society, it is promoted to forgive. And it is promoted that if we do not forgive, that somehow we are going to damage ourselves or burden ourselves. What is the truth? Is it important to forgive your abuser, or is it contraindicating to the healing process to forgive? What do you think? With trauma-informed care, one of the foundations of trauma-informed care is to focus on understanding. Understanding that healing from trauma is not a linear process. It's not a matter of dominoes falling down, and once you've stepped from step A, B, and C, voila, the trauma is healed. Each person's narrative and their experience of their trauma is their experience. One of the keystones of trauma-informed care is empathy, compassion for that person's experience. One of the keystones of healing and moving towards healing trauma is having other people allow you your process, your way, you stepping through it as suits you. Forgiveness has two sides to it. It is the healing we go through ourselves when we decide to forgive. I am ready. I am ready to forgive, and I'm going to forgive in my way, safely setting boundaries. So your personal experience of trauma and your decision that you are ready to forgive is paramount. This is very different to society, a friend, an associate saying to you, you need to forgive in order to heal. Forgiveness, true forgiveness, is about you being ready. Each person's narrative of trauma is different, and none of us can truly unpack the trauma of another person. And consequently, we are the only ones who can empower ourselves to move through our trauma. How do we do that? In our own time and space. Getting to know ourselves, being safe through the process, setting boundaries, understanding ourselves, allowing that process with compassion. It may be part of that process to forgive. It may be empowering to forgive. Let's look at the outcome of forgiveness. Why do we forgive? What do we gain? What outcome is achieved through forgiving? Perhaps forgiving the abuser, or perhaps forgiving the perpetrator, may give us a sense of empowerment. Perhaps our decision not to forgive perhaps increases or builds a greater sense of grudge holding, or resentment, or levels of regret, or levels of shame. So what is the experience when we don't forgive compared to the experience of when we do forgive? This is individual. There is no one size fits all here. This is a gentle process of what suits you. What does not work here is another person telling you to forgive. another person giving you advice on your trauma. This is about you deciding what suits you in your time, and through that process you developing a sense of understanding for who you are. This is about having supportive peers around you that don't tell you to forgive, don't tell you to let go, don't tell you to move on, and don't necessarily tell you to be quiet. Sometimes in life it may not be possible to have those supportive peers around you. If you do not have those supportive peers around you, you become your own supportive peer. You say to yourself in an Albert Ellis type framework that you can do this, that you can move through this at your own pace. And if moving through trauma requires the pace of a terrapin, a turtle, well, you go, turtle. You turtle away at your trauma. I'm just seeing this new framework, new theoretical framework, the turtle framework, moving slowly. If you do not have a supportive network around you, be your own supportive network. The idea of having a narrative or a personal story is that it's personal. It is personal to you. Trauma is a story within us that is so triggering that it results, when we think of it, it re-traumatizes the body. It gets that cortisol going, it gets the adrenaline going, and there may be other behavioral responses. Difficulty breathing, panic attacks, etc. Your body has almost become allergic to a memory. What is the way through that? There's so many ways through that possibly, but only you know what is right for you. It may be a level of exposure, being supported through a professional resources. It may be withdrawal. It may be requiring change. Whichever outcome is the optimum outcome for you, only you know. How do we know what the right way through trauma is? The first step is to ensure you're safe. Are you safe from this trigger that triggered the trauma? How can you sustain this sense of safeness, this sense of security? What colleagues, what peers can you associate with so that you continue to feel safe? Then what boundaries can you set in your healing so that you continue to feel safe? Boundaries are behaviors that we require, or limits we require in order to be safe. That is for our own discerning. Forgiveness may be part of this road, and it may not be. One of the questions to ask is, what happens if I don't forgive? Who will I be if I don't forgive, compared to who will I be if I do forgive? What is that story about forgiveness, about poison and holding grudges? That holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to be affected. Anything that affects your ability to be wholly you to express yourself, to be creative, to be alive, to breathe, to laugh. That is a process which can stop healing. Remember, if you choose to forgive, that does not mean you choose to forget. Remember, if you choose to forgive, you can have your conditions. If you choose to forgive, you don't have to associate with this person, this abuser, this perpetrator. You can have limits to your forgiveness. You can also have values and outcomes to your forgiveness. You can say to yourself, I choose to forgive this person so that I can laugh again. Not so that they can laugh again. So that I can be creative again. So that I can express myself artistically again. I choose to forgive so that I can release the emotional manacles around my heart. And choose forgiveness as a way to free yourself. So there's a difference between you choosing to forgive yourself and someone else saying, I think you should forgive that person and move on. It's when others decide who we should be, decide how we should release our pain, that they stop having our best interests at heart. It is when other people make strong judgments about us, about our journey of life, about how we should feel or think, that they affect our possible freedom. But we will always be able to take our freedom back. We will always be able to be the person who says, I decide how to feel. I decide how to think. I decide what values to practice in my life. I think that one of the ways people around us assert control and limit their world is by telling us how to heal, how to process trauma, and who to be. Sometimes others may try to silence our freedom of expression by telling us to forgive. I think that one of the beauties of forgiveness, if you choose to forgive, is that it is on your terms. True forgiveness is on your terms, not pronounced by a religion, a spiritual belief, or a group ideal. Forgiveness is about you deciding that your way of getting back up is to forgive. And you forgive in your way so that you can be free to laugh again. There is a misconception about forgiveness. That misconception is that somebody can tell you or suggest that you should forgive. The authenticity of forgiveness is that it is a process that frees you only when and if it suits you. Perhaps it's the right decision to forgive. Perhaps your healing from trauma doesn't require forgiveness, and that's okay. What is crucial here is that you are the person you are destined to be, and you feel free to be that person, unencumbered by the judgment of others. As soon as we even say the words, what would he or she say? What would he or she think? Then we place mind-forged manacles upon our soul. I think we also owe ourselves the service of not even thinking, what would he or she say? What would he or she think? Who cares? Who cares what they think? What matters is what you think, and your thoughts are in your control. Forgiveness may or may not be one of those processes. It's up to you. Who you are, who you are destined to be, is up to you.